When speaking under pressure in English, like in your career, an interview, or responding to a Q&A, do you find that you freeze, that you hit a mental block, that you're not able to find the right word for the right moment? And maybe you've already tried a ton of stuff. You've taken courses, you've memorized a lot of words, you've tried to activate passive vocabulary by journaling. You've just really tried to do everything that you can. Today, I'd like to show you a conversation I had with my student, Opeyemi, who was working on this thing specifically: how to engineer his fluency so that he can be more spontaneous at the speed of his thoughts and ideas. So let's check out that conversation here with Opeyemi. So first core principle is that talking in English is not the goal. Talking in English is the tool. And so we're going to work from a kind of formula. All right. What I talk about, all right, English language itself, that is represented by X. But the real life thing that I want to accomplish, that's represented by Y. And the constraint or the pressure under which I accomplish or perform, that's Z. X, Y, and Z is our formula. So I'm talking about numbers in English to write a recipe and bake a cake in 1 hour. Okay? Or I'm talking about breakup vocabulary because I'm actually dismissing someone who contracts with us and I only have 10 minutes to do it. Make sense? Okay?
Yeah.
All right. So the first step that you want to do is to consider what is it that you want to improve about your ability with X, the language itself. And it's best to just choose one primary thing that you want to work on. So maybe that's speed. You want to pause less. Now that you've slowed down, maybe you want to know what is it like for you to speed up and maintain the same level of clarity or accuracy, or maybe you want to just focus on complexity. But the idea is that you need to identify one sub-skill, okay, that is something to focus on, and then that becomes the thing that you designate. So you're like, my primary outcome today, I want to speak without filler words. So my goal is actually control and speed, maybe fewer pauses. Step two is you choose now the content. So like, what is the interesting thing you can talk about that gives you repeated access to that skill? So it needs to be familiar enough so that it's not too much of a mental burden, but it also needs to be flexible enough so that you can repeat it multiple times in different ways. So here are just some examples of work that like Elliot and I, content we often ask you guys to make, like a work process you know well, a recent decision you had to make, a problem you're solving, a comparison or a belief or principle you had. So there can be, the main thing is it needs to be interesting to you. You need to be able to repeatedly talk about it and it not be too much of a mental burden. Make sense?
Yeah. Yeah, it does.
Yeah. So maybe I will talk about our 1 year anniversary in Croatia. That's like the thing, interesting thing I love to talk about. Step three is you want to actually add a constraint. So this means what rule forces me to use the skill that I want. So a constraint is what will prevent you from just being comfortable. So some common ones, like you need to do it in a certain time limit, like speak in it, like that's a, but other ones can be like, I need to use at least 3 linking phrases or no fillers or start every sentence differently, or I need to explain this technical principle to my mom, or I need to defend something I don't believe in, or I need to summarize an idea that I don't even think of. Like these are kinds of constraints. Does that make sense?
Um, it does. Maybe my question would be, can you explain that in practice? Or maybe
Yes.
something we're going to cover later on?
Yeah, I'm going to give you an example and we're going to work from it. Mhm.
Okay, fantastic.
Final, like step, you got 2 more steps. You need to include repetition. Always include repetition. So it can be something simple like same topic, different person, same topic, shorter time. Like maybe I'm going to
Mm,
explain about Croatia in a minute, then 45 seconds, then 30 seconds, but the same topic. Mhm.
You know,
And
can we go back to the last slide?
uh
So this repetition, it's been a burden for me because I see people do that and I feel like, oh, I've heard you talk about this. I see some of our leaders do that, like, oh, I've heard you talk about this here. This has repeated himself. But then I came to the conclusion last year that I mean, I'm with the same guy with different audiences.
huh.
So the way he positions it with A is different from B, C, D, and E. And I'm like, it's repeating the same idea, but it's doing what you're saying here, different listener, shorter time, precision. The times where it goes high level, the times where it goes very deep and technical and tactical at times. But again, because I'm with him most of the time, it feels like I've heard it before. And I feel that's going to play a factor in my public speaking this year because we're starting to work on a project and I have about 5 different audiences I'm speaking to. There's the HR leadership team, there's the regional talent development team, the business, the people leaders who are part of the business, the HR communities, there's the HR leaders, and they all need to get this information in different ways. So when I saw that, I was like, that makes sense.
Exactly. So what you are identifying is that your manager, your boss is very comfortable talking about what they talk about, and they're able to talk about that thing to accomplish many different real life tasks under many different kinds of constraints.
Yes.
Uh-huh. So what you can do is what I'm trying to do is teach you how to fish. So instead of just giving you your lunch. So in this way, you like so the final step is just to reflect, of course, like what went well, what didn't, what was good, what was bad, right? It's just 5 steps. So like here's an example. Maybe you're like, I want to improve my ability to clearly describe my memories when I'm like sitting at lunch talking to a colleague and I just want to tell them about my life. So the goal, what I want to improve, the real life thing I want to be able to improve that you can do in Chinese or German is just improve my ability to clearly describe my memories so that other listeners can imagine them clearly. All right, then what's the topic? What's the English language I'm going to use to do this? I'm going to talk about my 1 year anniversary dinner in Croatia, and I want to do it for 1 minute without ever using a filler word. That's the goal. And then if I can do that, then I'll do it again, but 45 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds, like that. Now, what you can take this, Opeyemi, and you can prepare for any meeting that you have, right? So,
Mm.
like, what is a meeting that you have coming up that's maybe a bigger meeting next week, for example?
I'm meeting with my talent leadership. That's my AVP and SVP. Talk about the implementation of a new tool.
Mm. And what's the goal of the meeting? Just to discuss the
The
tool?
goal, yeah, the goal of the meeting is to walk them through um our implementation process. No, not implementation process towards the end, to kind of walk them through our strategy that links to why we bought this tool and also the implementation process across the organization.
Okay, that is your why, all right?
Mm,
All right, imagine if they spoke Yoruba. Okay, it doesn't matter anymore. That's the thing. You could do it in your first language, but if we get that done, that's why.
mm,
So why is how this tool connects to the org's larger strategy and essentials about how to implement to scale. That's the goal, right, of the meeting?
yes. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So is there anything about actually, sorry, that goes here. My bad. All right. That's the goal, real life goal. So is there anything about your English and your ability to do this that you're not sure about?
Uh for me, the first thing is my ability to describe situations clearly. That's one. And secondly, to be concise when I'm speaking.
Okay. So concisely will go here. So then
Okay.
I would do a time-based constraint because that will help you with being concise.
Fine. Okay.
So like your goal, you would say is yeah, precision.
Yes.
Yeah, precision. So
And I think precision. Okay, let me just speak it from here. Clarity, precision, and control under pressure.
uh-huh, yeah. Mhm. Uh-huh. Yep. And so then the actually it is like this. This is going to be like a technical language mostly, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And then how long do you have? How much time?
Um, an hour mostly. Most of the time, or just 1 hour.
Uh,
But I want to be able to give, because this was one thing I challenged. One challenge I ran into last year was setting these meetings for 1 hour, because that's the best you can get from these folks. But we don't eventually cover most of the things I want to talk about. So I'm trying this year. I told my manager, and she was like, "No, it's fine. Like, we'll cover most of the things we wanted them to talk to." But I've seen people do what I try to do in about an hour or less, just to give us about 15 minutes to have that back and forth around deliberations and next steps. So let's say I want to be able to have that conversation 30 about 30 minutes, and use the other 30 minutes to have the back and forth, the questions and answer, deliberation and next steps.
I recommend making it a goal to even get under 30 minutes, even 20 minutes, if possible.
Mm,
Because
mm,
then it might take you 25, 26 minutes. Then somebody goes to the bathroom, and then now we have 30 minutes, like that. Um, like that probably will be a good goal. So I would put the constraint at, yeah, 30 minutes for practice. And then maybe for repetition, you could do like once on video, once to a family member, once to a colleague, or something.
yeah.
That's another way that you can do repetition. You can do it like decreasing time if you want it to do it that way. I think what's good about doing it on video is that you can hear the words that you're choosing, you can play it back and listen to the vocabulary that you use.
Mm,
And then kind of you can make notes of those words and go, I think I could use some other words here that I mean to say. And then in that way you're just sort of drafting it. And that would be step 5, which is reflect. After each time you ask like what was working? What did I learn? What did I observe? What was working? 5 steps, basically. It's the 5th step. Yeah. Um, so this is something I recommend doing for like you don't need a teacher, you don't need feedback. You just need to accomplish the goal.